In the first part of this film, I showed you how I did the image transfer onto this little mini canvas, and now I want to turn this into a picture. The photo I've got here was taken on holiday back in the summer. That's me, my sister, her boyfriend, my husband, and I thought it was such a jolly photo that I thought it would be fun to turn this just into a little picture that I can send to my sister. So I manipulated the image, I turned it, sort of posterized it, and then I transferred it onto the canvas. I've let it dry, and now I thought I would add some watercolour. There is matte medium on this canvas, so it's giving a little bit of grip, not a huge amount, but enough. And I'm just using a bit of watercolour. I don't really know what I'm going to do here. Just going to have a little bit of play, integrate the image and see what happens. Get some colour onto the sides. Just add in a little bit of grey here, keep the colour palette simple because it's such a teeny weeny canvas. Just dry that off. So I want to use this stencil to create some texture because my sister and her boyfriend are horticulturalists and that would seem very relevant. So I masked off the faces and then I am going to put this, I think like here, and get some modelling paste. If you want some more ideas about using stencils in your mixed media work, I've done a whole film about different ideas, but this is just one of my favourite ways of doing it. You just use some modelling paste and gently scrape it through the stencil. You can tint the modelling paste if you want this to be coloured. When you've covered the area, you take it off and you're left with this wonderful texture pattern. If, like I've got here, some extra bits on the edges that I don't like, I can just scrape those off while it's still wet and that will be fine. And what I want to do is bring some of that pattern down here, and I'm just gonna hold it carefully in place so I don't muck up any of the pattern I've already achieved. Yeah, that's lovely. I've been really impatient with this and actually hair dried it, so I may live to regret that because I'm not sure it's 100% dry, but do you know what? I just wanted to get on. Got a little Posca pen and I might just pick out a couple of the sort of petally shapes in white if I want to. I think I want to just emphasize, and I'm very fond of dots, so I might just put a few dots in places. If you don't know Posca pens, they are acrylic markers, so it's very liquid acrylic inside. You give it a good shake to mix it up, and then you have to press the end multiple times to get it to flow. Now I'm using a little bit of watercolour, this is Viviva colour sheets, just to touch up some of those petal shapes and bring them to the fore. I think this looks really pretty. So my little canvas has dried really thoroughly overnight, and I did put a fixative on that, and now I want to just use a little bit of wax to give it a nice sheen. I found these mica powders. I bought them very cheaply, and I read somewhere that if you sprinkle mica powder into the wax while it's wet, it makes a nice finish. So I have never done that before, and I'm going to give it a go. The wax I'm using is Frenchy. It's designed to go over chalk paint, but it works in just the same way as Dorland's wax and is a lot more readily available and a lot more reasonably priced. So when I'm doing a project like this, or if I need to wax the pages in my art journal, anything like that, I use it. You know, if it's for a piece that I'm selling, then I don't. I use the proper stuff. All you have to do with it is rub it on. You can use your fingers if you're happy. If you do get sort of dermatitis or have any sensitivity, then wear gloves or use a brush. I'm going to use a little brush. Oh, that's a bit more than I anticipated. And put a little dusting over. So that was possibly a little more than I thought. I assume because these were so cheap that they wouldn't have a lot of colour to them. I'm hoping that when this dries, it'll give a sort of shimmer and shine. Once this is dry, and it really won't take long depending on where you are, use a lint-free cloth and give it a gentle buff, and that will just bring it to a sort of sheen. Here's our little finished picture. Doing something like this is a great way to experiment and try new techniques that, if you like them, you can then use in a bigger painting, and if you don't like them, you never have to do them again. First we did that image transfer that I showed you in part 1, then we put on that lovely texture, and I'm definitely going to be doing more of that. Then we added little highlights, we added little spots of colour, we dried it all, sealed it, and then had a go with the wax and putting in some mica. Don't know that I've got much shine off the mica, but it's added quite a lot of colour, which was a surprise. I'd love it if you shared your favourite mixed media techniques in the comments, and let me know whether you ever do little practice pieces like this and how useful you find them.